Most gardeners are pulling out one of the most nutritious, heat-tolerant and productive edible plants on the planet and, well, throwing it away like trash. That mistake quietly costs harvest volume, soil resilience, and a free source of high-value nutrition that would otherwise require expensive inputs to replace. Purslane isn't just another edible weed. It's a signal that the soil is alive, and it's offering something most cultivated crops struggle to match under stress. The real issue isn't that purslane grows where it isn't wanted. The problem is that most growers never stop to ask why it thrives exactly where everything else struggles. In compacted soil, in raised beds that dry too quickly, even in neglected corners of hydroponic runoff zones, purslane shows up and performs. That performance is not random. It's a plant engineered by nature to handle heat, poor fertility, and inconsistent water better than most cultivated greens, and instead of learning from it, it gets uprooted and discarded. There's also something bigger at stake beyond yield. Supporting systems that sustain life matters, whether it's soil biology or something outside the garden. There are organizations out there rescuing abandoned and injured dogs, feeding them, treating them, and giving them a chance to live again, and they rely entirely on donations. If this kind of content brings value and something about it resonates, consider supporting a dog rescue organization in any way possible. Even the smallest contribution helps keep those efforts alive, and it connects directly to something else worth mentioning here. Some of the tools discussed in this video use affiliate links that also contribute towards supporting that cause. Now here's where most growers get things wrong when they try to upgrade purslane from weed to crop. They treat it like lettuce. That approach fails immediately. Purslane is not a cool season, high-water leafy green. It is a succulent. It stores water in its leaves and stems, and it thrives under slightly stressful conditions. Overwatering it, especially in rich organic soil, leads to weak, elongated growth with diluted flavor. The difference between wild-tasting purslane and bland cultivated purslane comes down to controlled stress. This is exactly where something like the Vivosun pH and TDS meter combo kit becomes incredibly useful. It's linked in the description below. It's an Amazon product, and this content uses Amazon affiliate links, meaning a small commission may be earned from qualifying purchases at no extra cost. And those commissions help support a dog rescue organization. In practical terms, this tool lets growers measure nutrient concentration and pH with precision, which is critical when pushing purslane to its best flavor and nutrient density, especially in hydroponic or container systems where everything is controlled. Purslane's flavor is often described as a mix between cucumber and melon, with a slight lemony bite. That flavor profile comes from how it balances water content and organic acids inside the leaves. When grown in overly wet conditions, that balance shifts and the plant becomes watery and flat. In a raised bed, for example, allowing the top 2 to 3 centimeters of soil to dry out before watering again produces thicker leaves and a more concentrated taste. In containers, using a sandy or well-draining mix, something like 50% compost, 30% coarse sand, and 20% cocoa coir creates the exact stress profile purslane prefers. In hydroponics, the rules shift slightly, but the principle stays the same. Purslane performs best at a lower nutrient strength than leafy greens like spinach or kale. A total dissolved solids reading between 500 and 800 ppm is enough to drive strong growth without diluting flavor. This is where consistent monitoring with a meter becomes essential. Without it, nutrient solutions tend to creep higher over time, especially in small systems, and that leads to fast but weak growth. Maintaining a pH range between 5.5 and 6.5 keeps nutrient uptake efficient without locking out micronutrients that contribute to flavor and nutritional quality. Another reason purslane is underestimated is its omega-3 content. On a per-weight basis, it contains more alpha-linolenic acid than many fish sources people rely on. That alone should honestly change how it's viewed in a productive garden. Instead of being a nuisance, it becomes a functional crop that contributes to dietary balance, and unlike fish or imported supplements, it grows for free once established, often reseeding itself year after year without any intervention. Harvesting technique also determines whether purslane becomes a reliable crop or just a one-time novelty. Pulling it out by the roots, well, that ends the cycle. Cutting it just above the base, leaving at least 2 to 3 nodes intact, actually triggers regrowth within days. In warm conditions, a single plant can be harvested every 5 to 7 days, producing multiple flushes over weeks. In a small backyard garden, dedicating even half a square meter to managed purslane can yield more edible biomass than the same area planted with traditional greens during hot weather. There's also a strategic advantage in how it interacts with soil. Purslane acts as a living mulch. Its low spreading growth shades the soil, reducing evaporation and suppressing more aggressive weeds. In raised beds, allowing it to coexist between slower growing crops like peppers or eggplants, improves moisture retention and stabilizes soil temperature. Instead of competing aggressively, it fills gaps and protects the system. However, there's a trade-off that needs to be understood clearly. Purslane can become invasive if allowed to seed unchecked. Each plant produces thousands of tiny seeds that remain viable in the soil for years. Managing it as a crop means harvesting before flowering or removing seed heads deliberately. This is not a plant to ignore once it's invited into a system. It needs to be guided, not left to take over. In hydroponic setups, purslane offers another advantage that's often overlooked. It tolerates higher temperatures and nutrient solutions better than most leafy greens. While lettuce begins to struggle when root zone temperatures exceed 24 degrees Celsius, purslane continues growing. That makes it an ideal summer crop for systems without active cooling. Maintaining stable nutrient levels, again monitored with a reliable meter, ensures that heat stress doesn't translate into nutrient imbalance. Propagation is almost effortless. Stem cuttings placed directly into moist soil root within days. In hydroponics, cuttings placed in net cups with minimal support media establish quickly without rooting hormones. This allows rapid scaling from a single plant to a full bed in a short time. For growers focused on efficiency, this is one of the fastest ways to increase production without additional cost. There's also a misconception that purslane needs poor soil to thrive. It tolerates poor soil, but it performs best in balanced conditions with controlled stress. That distinction matters. Providing moderate fertility while limiting water slightly produces the ideal combination of growth and flavor. Using a meter to track nutrient levels removes guesswork and ensures consistency across harvests. Culinary use is another area where purslane gets overlooked. It's not just a raw salad green. It holds texture when lightly sautéed, making it useful in stir-fries and stews. Its slight acidity can replace vinegar or lemon in some dishes. That versatility increases its value beyond just being another leafy addition. The bigger picture here is about rethinking what belongs in a productive garden. Productivity isn't just about planting more crops, it's about recognizing what's already working and using it intentionally. Purslane grows where conditions are less than ideal, and it turns those conditions into an advantage. Ignoring that is a missed opportunity. In a world where inputs are getting more expensive and climate conditions are becoming less predictable, plants like purslane offer resilience. They require less water, tolerate heat, and deliver high nutritional value. That combination is rare and it deserves attention. For growers who are serious about results, the shift is simple but powerful. Stop treating purslane as a weed to eliminate and start managing it as a crop to optimize. Control water, monitor nutrients, harvest strategically, and use its natural strengths to support the rest of the system. There's real value in learning how to grow better food, with fewer inputs and more awareness. That's what separates average results from consistent, high-quality harvests. If this approach makes sense, subscribing and sharing helps more growers move in that direction, building systems that are both productive and resilient. And as this method becomes part of the routine, tools that bring precision, like the VivaSun pH and TDS meter, quietly become part of that success, not as extras, but as essentials that make everything else work the way it should.